football fans. I'm the Fantasy Football Girl, and this is As the League Turns, a weekly digest of the NFL's biggest, baddest, and best drama. The show that doesn't necessarily dig deep for stats, but does dig deep for dirt. Just a heads up, due to the Thanksgiving holiday, I won't be posting a secret weapons on Saturday, so I hope you get your vlog times fixed with this edition of As the League Turns. Week 11 did not disappoint in terms of drama. Records were broken, a slew of players left the field limping, and 3 games were decided in overtime. Of the games that went into OT, the one that had me personally on the edge of my seat was the Jacksonville Jaguars at Houston Texans matchup. As I mentioned on last week's episode of As the League Turns, the Blaine Gabbert-led Jags have been hapless this season and entered Week 11 having lost all but one of their previous 9 games. The Texans, on the other hand, have been finding ways to win and walked onto the field with a near-perfect record of 8-1. It seemed as though the Texans would easily nab their 9th win when, only 5 plays into the game, their 4th-ranked defense sent Gabbert to the locker room with a sore elbow. That's when things got interesting. Backup quarterback Chad Henne, who the Miami Dolphins were more than happy to get rid of at the end of last season, came into the game and lit a fire under the otherwise underutilized Jacksonville offense. He ended the day throwing for over 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. In fact, his performance impressed the higher-ups so much that he's been slated to start in Week 12 versus the Tennessee Titans. Side note to fantasy owners, the Titans aren't very good, which means this should be a nice matchup for not only Henne, but also 2 of his receivers, Justin Blackmon and Cecil Shorts, as well as his tight end, Mercedes Lewis. While Jacksonville did their best to keep up with the gobsmacked Texans, it wasn't quite enough. Houston's quarterback Matt Schaub came out swinging, completing 43 of 55 passes for 527 yards and a career-high 5 touchdowns. Of course, Schaub was helped by stud receiver Andre Never Say Die Johnson. The 10-year vet also had a career day, catching 14 passes for 273 yards. Oh, and he quite fittingly grabbed the game-winning touchdown, too. After the game, Johnson answered critics who doubted his health and suggested that perhaps he was too old to keep playing the game on an elite level, by simply nodding to his stats, chuckling, and saying, "Maybe you guys will believe me after that." In the NFL, you're only as good as your last game, so who knows what people will be saying next week. One thing's for sure, though. The bet I placed on the Texans to go to the Super Bowl back in August is looking pretty sweet right now. Alright, I'd probably never be let back into the city of Chicago, let alone my mother's house, if I didn't mention Coach Ditk's very small, perhaps sausage-induced stroke this past week. DeCoach, who turned 73 years young last month, on October 18th, I know because we have the same birthday, no big deal, just saying, was hospitalized on Friday with what doctors are calling a very minor stroke. Apparently, he had been playing golf at a suburban country club and noticed that his hands weren't quite working right, and he was having trouble speaking. He has since been discharged and was already back to talking football on the ESPN radio show Mike and Mike in the Morning. When asked about the stroke, the Bears' beloved head coach said he was eager to get back to work and that he was feeling both good and darn optimistic. Well, that's to be expected. He is, after all, Iron Mike. And so I don't get a bunch of emails calling me a homer, I'd like to talk about something really cool that quarterback Aaron Rodgers, yes, the same Aaron Rodgers, quarterback for my least favorite team in the league, the Green Bay Packers, is doing. The former Super Bowl champ, it still hurts to say that, and 2-time Pro Bowler has teamed up with an awesome organization called the MAC Fund. The MAC Fund, which stands for Midwest Athletes Against Childhood Cancer, was founded in 1976 and is dedicated to funding childhood cancer and related blood disorder research. Together, Rodgers and the MAC Fund have started a program called It's Aaron. The basic premise is that Aaron Rodgers shows up unannounced on the doorstep of a family who has been dealing with a very sick child or children. Most recently, Rodgers surprised 10-year-old Maggie, who after months of surgeries and chemotherapy treatments is finally cancer-free. They spent an hour together hanging out, playing soccer, jumping on the trampoline, and of course chatting about football. Rodgers even gifted Maggie with an American Girl doll. There's a link on my site just below this. You should check it out. It's super heartwarming. For more information on the charity, please visit itsaaron.com. And Aaron, seriously, thanks for being as good off the field as you are on it. Now, I'd really appreciate it if you could just please lose a game or two. Ugh! Thanks so much for watching. This has been As the League Turns, and I'm the Fantasy Football Girl reminding you to always win big. Oh, and happy Thanksgiving.